All right, that's our new musical theme for season 2 of the Wheelhouse podcast. We haven't invested in the music budget, obviously, Catherine, but we'll work on that. Welcome to 2024. Welcome to episode 1, series 2 of the Wheelhouse podcast.
And thusly with a cowbell, here we are.
It's the nearest noise-making object I could find.
Well, I actually think that one came from the Tour Down Under.
It did, yeah.
So it's very on brand. Well done.
Perfect.
Perfect way to make some noise at a bike race. And also, it's the thing that you don't really want to bring home and leave anywhere near the children. It'll drive you crazy.
Yeah,
That's why it's in here on the desk.
You'll be able to speak to this too. I feel like an elite cyclist would be driven crazy by it too, because they tend to go off at the bottom of massive climbs a lot. So it's like a herald of you're going to be in intense, excruciating pain for an undefined period.
But when you're in the zone,
yeah,
I'm sure there's some kind of technical term for it, but I'm just going to call it race deafness.
Okay.
It's all kind of noise, white noisy. You tend not to hear specific things other than just noise.
The battle calm washes over you. Okay.
We need to find a word for that. I'm sure the Germans have a word for it. They have a word for nearly everything, really specifically.
Yeah. Race Kalmkenstein. Okay. My name's Joel Spreadborough, and it's a pleasure to be back in the bunker for the first time in 2024. Catherine Bates, you've been busy. You had a little bit of a holiday wedged in there somewhere, I'm sure?
Yes. Determined to ride our bicycles. The first time I jumped on mine, my SRAM battery was flat.
I didn't mean to laugh.
I was in such a hurry to get out the door that I had gone far and late enough to where I was going. I'd gone far enough that I didn't have time to go back and get it. I mean, that's assuming I even knew where it was.
Yes.
On the charger somewhere. And my tyres were far less inflated than would be ideal. On the next jaunt out on the bike, Paul Merksey's Di2 was flat.
Oh.
And so what that tells me is we're not riding enough. But then we got that all up to date and
did you ride
got
again?
back on track.
Oh,
yes,
good. Okay.
We did. Enjoyed the charged electronic gears.
It just would have been a tragic ending if you said we went home and charged it all up and got it all ready, but then we didn't ride again. But at least you got to use it when fully charged.
Yes, and Santa did get me some new mountain bike shoes.
From Bike Bug?
I have a feeling they were from Bike Bug.
Fantastic.
But they're too small, and that is my fault because Merksey checked the sizing of my old shoes, and I hadn't told him that they squish my feet so badly that they come out feeling like a block of steak. So he went for the same size. So that's my bad. So we're yet to swap them, but we will.
A block of steak on the feet, block of steak down the necks, blocks of steak
down the strides. How about you? Did you get on the bike over Christmas?
I did, and I've got a new spirit animal as a result of my riding over Christmas. It's the sloth, and I've got one on my wrist right now. I want to give a shout out to Ellen for providing this for me.
Yes.
This is my new, I'm going to wear it as often as possible.
I have a jersey with a sloth on it.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the sloth has a cup of coffee in its hand, so it's a little bit mixed messages. But,
I went to Stradbroke Island for a little holiday. I'm in Jereba with my wife, my lovely wife, Lee, celebrating 5 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
And thank you. It was lovely. We hired bikes. And then we realised we were staying right at the top of Point Lookout, biggest hill on the island, basically. So I had to ride up a 3-part hill of pain to get to our house every day. And as I was doing this, I realised the bike was quite rickety, quite rusty, quite all over the shop. So I ended up having words with the guy in the friendly words with the guy in the hiring shop when I took it back, saying I'm not sure this is safe. And then my friend that was with us said, "Are you sure it's not just because you've got the shits because you had to ride up that hill every day and the bike's actually okay?" So a little bit from column A,
column A, column B. Yeah.
But it was good to get on a bike, not my own bike, and do that. We also went to beautiful Stanthorpe and rode a bike there as well.
Very nice.
And went down to Coffs Harbour and guess what? Rode a bike there as well. So 3 bike rides that weren't on my own bike were all thoroughly enjoyed.
Very good. Well, I went to Ballarat for the Nationals and watched a lot of people ride bikes.
Yes.
We'll dive into that a bit later, but that was good. Whenever I go there though, I miss my bike.
Yep.
I always think,
I get that now. I genuinely do. We're going to talk about the Nationals, of course. Also, the Tour Down Under is upon us. Adelaide lights up. Going to preview that as well. And also some news around the Tour de France. A big name brand making its way into the sport of cycling. If you're a Formula One fan or indeed an extreme sport fan, you're going to be familiar with this brand. We'll talk about it. It might just give you wings. I don't know. I've never experienced that. Some new names, some new jerseys to look out for in the peloton as well. So, on that note, welcome back. It is Series 2, bigger and better than ever. A very big hello to our man Merksy, who is looking fantastic. Merksy, please cut to yourself so that give the people what they want. Have a look at that haircut.
You like it? It's
I
fresh.
love it.
It's very short.
Yes.
First time I've been to a barber in 10 years.
You've both had haircuts, and you've both significantly reduced your beards without completely going smooth.
Well,
Yeah.
it's Series 2. You got to freshen up.
Yeah.
Yeah, new look.
Yeah.
New direction for the
Oh,
characters.
I mean, I shaved my entire beard off.
I actually, I'm not even joking. And Lee, if you're listening, will shake her fist hearing this. I pretty much clogged our sink shaving off my holiday beard.
That's nice.
Needed a Drano, needed a dose of Drano. Such was the density of the hair. It was a record beard for me. So just thought I'd throw that into a cycling podcast because you never know what topic
You
we'll
just
hit.
never know.
So welcome back, everyone. I'm here with the haircut. Kate's here smiling. Merksy's in the studio. Let's get into it with some news around the Tour de France and reconnaissance missions featuring none other than our favourite pizza boy, Remco Evenepoel. He's not only going there, he's mapping it out inch by inch. He's taking it very, very seriously, Kate.
Yeah, he is. I mean, the world was so excited, the cycling world, when they heard that Remco would be riding the Tour de France. But now he's reconning stages. So he's not just riding it, but he's getting in early to make sure that the stages that he thinks will be critical for overall success, he can be very familiar with and also train for.
Cool.
And I think that kind of specialisation shows a fair amount of intent.
How's he doing this? Is he just is he riding around? Is he driving around?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cold conditions over there at the moment. But yeah, he's riding and driving and mapping it. I think they use VeloViewer. So they literally GPS map every part of it because then you can put it into virtual software and use it on a smart trainer and ride. That's one really cool way to do it. But also you can then find other training routes that are similar to it.
Yeah.
To do very specific training.
So one question that might seem an obvious one, but why is every team not doing this?
Oh, I mean, there's a combination of budget. There's a combination of the people who think they can win GC are doing it. But there's a lot less application for the riders who could definitely win stages at the Tour, but they're not necessarily, it's more opportunistic rather than the exact course. But when you've got to be 21 days on, you can't afford to make a mistake. I mean, we saw what happened at the Vuelta when Remco had a bad day. Like, you have a bad day, you're done.
You're done. Yeah.
And so they have to kind of mitigate risk around everything. But I think that he'll be really looking to kind of dominate in the time trials and conserve in the mountains.
Okay.
Because Vingegaard is going to be incredibly difficult to beat in mountains, as is Pogacar. And so the more that he can gain potentially in the time trials early on, I think that'll put him in a better position to be a little bit more aggressive throughout the race.
He's spoken a lot about the riders he's up against, not just the ones ahead of him, but the ones nipping at his heels. So I think this is a very early indication of just how seriously Remco is taking his 2024. We'll see what happens.
Honestly, I think that it'll be a mental game between Evenepoel and Vingegaard and Pogacar.
Yep.
It's really going to be who can hang in there, who's the toughest when it gets tough, and it will, who can kind of rally against it.
Yeah, Merksy.
I don't reckon he'll make the podium.
You're not tipping him for, what about a top 10?
Top 10.
Top 10, GC, but no
Interesting.
podium.
I tend to agree, Merksy, because I think he's got the talent to win a Tour, but I don't think he's there yet.
Because he stretches himself too thin over the year, or
I
because...
just think that he hasn't really yet shown us that he won't have bad days.
Yeah.
Like, quite bad days. I mean, before Cadel Evans won his Tour de France, his first pink jersey at the Giro, I think he lost like 10 minutes while wearing the pink jersey. It wasn't just like a slightly bad day. It was a catastrophically bad day. And that's often what you see from these guys when they're on their way But we're also talking about a Tour de France that won't be easy. It's not like, you know, if they can protect him, you can't protect someone from Pogacar and Vingegaard and Roglic as well. Of course, you almost forget him now that he's over at Bora. Like, he's just another team again to go on the aggressive kind of strategy. So
to enter our big three, big four, let's just say a big dozen.
But I mean, he's so tremendously talented, so I think it's a matter of time. But
yep, not this year.
No.
You heard it here first. Wheelhouse Podcast early tips are in, and all we're saying about the tour at this stage is that Remco Evenepoel will not be on the podium.
Well, no, that's what we think, but he's certainly giving it a red hot crack.
Yeah, look, all the best to him.
Yes.
Speaking of giving it
We've
red
got
hot.
another 6 months to talk about it too.
Oh, look, hey, let's get in early.
Yeah.
Talk about the tour. Let's bring it back to Australia. Let's jump on the Wheelhouse Jumbo. We've upgraded to a Jumbo jet over the Christmas as well, by the way. Thank you. Kate, you've been busy. You've been down in Ballarat looking at the road nationals and doing a fine job of it, as always. Now, let's start off. We'll go through some of those results, what we saw, what we liked, but obviously some very sad news leading into the event that you marked ahead of the women's race in Ballarat. And I refer, of course, to the tragic and bewildering the passing of Mel Hoskins. So tributes flowing, of course, right across the cycling world. And that was on every rider's mind, of course, at the Nationals.
Yeah, I think it was a hard start to the year, and certainly the riders turned up with a lot more on their mind. Normally, you start a new year and it's almost like a chance to just move on from the crap. Didn't quite happen this year. We lost Melissa Hoskins over the new year on New Year's Eve. And, tremendous loss for the Australian cycling community. She was just one of the most wonderful people, Joel. We used to call her Smelly, and she was known mostly for her positivity, and people often used her as almost the go-between, the mediator, because she had the ability to really read the room and read everybody's mood and find a way through it. But she was a very good dancer too. She did try to teach me how to shuffle. Can you shuffle?
Kate,
I know.
please.
Okay. And she tried, and
shuffle?
she made it look so easy. And
Yeah.
I've never felt so old in my life. I think there's about 8 years age gap, but I felt like I was 20 years older than her. But yeah, look, it's a pretty hard thing to process for everybody. But it was a real honour. I got to give the memorial speech leading into the 1 minute silence, which was really beautiful. And I'm glad Oz Cycling did that.
Of course.
And I can tell you I've never heard such silence in one of those moments. There wasn't a whisper. So it was pretty powerful.
Yeah, incredibly shattering news that was for the entire Australian cycling family. So credit to you for getting up and performing that, Kate, because that cannot have been easy, but beautifully, sensitively done, of course. And the thoughts of the Wheelhouse and the condolences of the Wheelhouse, the entire family go out to Melissa's family, friends, and anyone who had anything to do with that shining light extinguished far too soon. The racing did get underway as well, though, Kate. A couple of familiar names performing admirably, as we like to see on the Wheelhouse. A couple of our favourites in the time trial, especially. A couple of big returns as well.
Yes.
Who did you like the most in the women's? What got you going? You know what? This is going to be a big year for X.
Ruby Rose McGannon.
Yep.
She won the criterium and she won the road race in the elite women. And I was standing in the media zone just afterwards talking to some people in the high performance team at Oz Cycling, and I said, I think she can be on the podium in Paris in the road race at the Olympics. And then I said to them, I also feel quite good about this because a couple of years ago at the first ever women's Paris-Roubaix, I said on SBS on television, I think Ruby Rose McGannon can be our first Australian winner of this race. Oh, look, I got some plum responses on social media, let me tell you. People didn't agree with me. And I thought, do you know more about this athlete than we do? I don't know about that. Yeah. But it felt like a little moment of validation because I suppose when you're in our position, you're around the sport for a long time. You see a lot behind the scenes. And from the media side of things, often there is an undercurrent of you seeing the full picture of an athlete far more than these little stories that get put out.
Yeah.
And so I've thought for years that she will be potentially the best road rider Australia's ever had.
Wow, okay.
And also not just because of her talent, but also because of opportunity.
Yep.
Right, because we've had so much talent in the past. One I can think of is Anna Wilson.
Yeah.
Gosh, she did tremendous things. And Anoni Wood, she was world number one for a while on the road. But they didn't have a Tour de France. They didn't have the same opportunities. And so their ability to create a career and to really thrive was quite different to what it is now. And I see that with Ruby. She's an incredibly smart bike racer. Physiologically, she just is so capable across different strengths.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a climber, but she can climb really well, especially at her own pace. She's not a pure sprinter, but by goodness, she can outkick the best sprinters given the right course. She's also proven herself really well as a domestique, kind of cutting her teeth in Europe. So, but now speaking of, and while we're talking about impressive rides,
Yes, please.
in second was Laureta Hansen. I don't think many people know, but in 1981, her mother, Heather Kelson it was at the time, was the Australian Women's Road Race Champion.
Okay.
And to my knowledge, Laureta is the first next generation from a female rider.
The mother-daughter connection. Wow.
So she got second, and I've got to say I kind of willed her to win. And the reason I thought that is because I thought Ruby's going to have a million chances of victory.
Yeah.
Laureta does so much work in Europe as a domestique. I felt like this is her moment. And look, it didn't quite work out for her. But the reason that her mother didn't continue to the Olympics, it was 1981. There were just no opportunities. So she went into nursing. She's still an intensive care nurse and had a wonderful career. But she just didn't really have the ability to have a family, contribute economically, and ride a bike. And so I love that.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's lovely when you hear that real family, that personal connection. We speak a lot about these trailblazers, these women and men that we're going 60s, 70s, 80s, who inspired this crop that's coming through, particularly that under 23, that sort of young crop over the last few years. There's been some real prodigies, some real potential. And I love you talking about Ruby Rose like that, because to see her go toe-to-toe with some of those prodigies coming out of Europe is going to be enthralling
so good. She's so
viewing.
talented. I really genuinely think at the Olympics she's got a really great chance if they pick her in the team.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons is because the field is really small. Like at the World Championships, Australia can have 6 or 7 riders depending on continental qualifiers. At the Olympics, it's 3 to 4. So the field size is half what it normally is. The teams don't have the ability to stack 6 riders on the front and ride for one other. And with the dynamics so different, it often opens doors and opportunities. That's how Sarah Carrigan won.
Yep.
If it was just 6 Aussies up against the Germans and the Dutch, I don't know that she would have had as good a chance. So, yeah.
Ruby Rose's biggest European rival.
It's January,
Oh,
and we're making some really big predictions.
Oh, it's huge.
For
We've already
mid to end year.
We've already picked 2 podiums.
Yeah, how do you like that?
One vacant podium, but 1 occupied podium so far. Ruby Rose, really quickly, 10 years. Who's the biggest opponent, biggest European opponent from a similar crop, riders that are coming through and doing incredible things?
To Rosemond Gannon.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been around for a long time, but still very, very young. I would say Alyssa Balsamo.
Okay.
She won as a first-year senior the World Championships.
Yeah.
Right time, right place. Heck of an engine.
Yeah.
I think they're similar riders that might go toe-to-toe. I think watch this space on anybody with the surname Backstead.
Okay.
There's a fair bit of slaying going on.
Yeah.
And, her mum, Megan, was not quite the level that of national road champion, but she was also pretty good. So that's another mother-daughter.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool story.
Look at the symmetry coming in on Series 2, Episode 1.
Well, I'm headed off with the women because the women's race was really interesting.
Yeah.
Really good to watch.
Sarah G as well, a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah,
performing
Giggles
beautifully.
is back.
Yeah.
Sarah Gigante. Now, she got the QOM, but she was a bit frustrated, I think, at the end because she has such high standards of herself.
Yeah.
And I know that because she's starting to feel better and she's healthy again and she's strong again and she's been slaying it at Mount Buffalo, that she would have liked to be able to distance them on the climb. But Liv Jayco Alula, they just had numbers, and it was a numbers game, and so it was a little bit tough for Sarah. But I was so excited to see her back.
Yeah.
Like crazy excited. And you know who else was? The Couch Peloton, because the internet loves Sarah Gigante.
Yeah,
like
they do.
loves her. It's just like a cult following. It's quite cool, actually.
Yeah. Did you,
Yeah.
you caught up? You have a chat? Did you say
I did.
Merry
I had
Christmas?
a little chat to her at the end. I apologised again to her mum.
Sorry to bring it up. I just wanted to know if that so that did come up face
It did,
to face.
yes. I ruined Christmas. But what we did...
You didn't ruin
Oh,
Christmas.
no, before Christmas and after I realised I'd spoilt the surprise,
Yeah.
I sent them like a bag of goodies
Excellent.
from Chicks Who Ride Bikes
Yep.
and from the new Llama app. So I sent them some tote bags and water bottles and stuff
Wheelhouse chamois?
as a thank you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wheelhouse chamois.
Oh.
Wheelhouse rib fillet for the chamois.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
big slab of it from Costco.
Perfect. That'll cover you. That'll cover you on any climb.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look at the men. Now, we spoke about
Yeah.
the Plapp trap, falling into the Plapp trap. And that's happened again at the Nationals. But you had a little bit of a gripe when it came to the men. Now, I'm not going to say that their spirit animals were sloths as well, but it might have
no.
seemed a little bit that way at the end.
It was a long race for the tactics that we used. So they went out very early and very aggressive. Field split to absolute smithereens. We had some really great performances trying to bridge gaps, trying to force early breaks. Like Sam Welsford was one. Now, he at one point came through the start-finish line after he'd been jettisoned from the break, like tapping his legs and giving like an explosion sign with his hands.
Okay, sure.
So that was pretty clear. But I loved that on a course that wouldn't necessarily normally suit him, he had such a go. But essentially it was the Jayco Alula show. They went 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Plappy, Harper, O'Brien. It was great. And on one hand, Joel, this incredible show of dominance, there's kind of a narrative around the jersey's back, right? Almost like it belongs with Jayco Alula, Liv Jayco Alula. And this is, I like this because it used to be seen as the Aussie team. And then I feel like it kind of got lost in the wilderness in the middle, where we had a lot of foreign riders which were amazing and so great to watch, but it lost to a degree, I think,
Lost
for Aussie
Australia.
fans,
Yeah.
the real Australia.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's back.
Okay.
I really do. And they actually announced that they've got a few signings for next year with Hamish McKenzie and Will Eves, like these huge talents.
Hamish is
We love
big
Hamish.
one to
He's
watch,
such
yeah.
a big talent. They're signing them for next year. So it's great. It's like all the big talents
bringing
coming
it back to Australia. Hello,
Ah.
Mercy.
That's all great, but can we talk about the finish?
Yes.
It was just as boring as the last 100 Ks. Sorry.
Yes. Well, let's get to that. So in the end, for the last 12 laps from memory,
Yeah.
it was Luke Plapp and Chris Harper. Luke Plapp and Chris Harper. And at different times, they looked under varying degrees of strain, but never too
Never
much,
fully
to be honest.
pushing
I
it,
mean,
okay.
Luke Plapp every single lap. I was on the presentation stage with Jethro Nagel, gave us a little hat tip or a smile or a little wiggle. And by
Every lap?
every lap, by the end, we were like, okay, he's just showing off now. Like, come on.
It's like a training ride.
It was like a training
Yeah.
ride, but here's where the contention comes in, right? So I had a microphone in my hand for 5 hours, Joel. So I was asking
look
the
out.
hard questions.
Yeah.
And I said at the time, with a couple of laps to go, will they race each other? Will it be predetermined who wins this?
No.
And what do we think?
No, not like
You
that.
know.
You're kidding.
Well,
Predetermined.
I was of the view at the time that I really wanted to see them essentially attack each other. And if they weren't into that, definitely sprint for the end. Even if you can look at Harper and Plapp and go, well, that's kind of not a fair race in a sprint. Don't care. Wanted to see it. Wanted to see some action left,
Just
right
want
and
to see
centre.
a race. Yeah.
But then Jethro was like, no, I want Plapp to go 3 in a row. I think that's a piece of history. That's what I want to see. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, what is better for the sport? What's the right thing here? I wanted to see them race. I mean, what do you think?
Competition.
But
At
then
that level,
Plapp's, for the team, Plapp's making history by having 3. He likely would have won the sprint anyway.
You still have to earn it, though, don't you?
Yeah.
You still have to actually accomplish it.
Yeah.
Look, I'd love to ask Lucas. I'd love to say that accolade. If that's staring you in the face, do you want to earn it or do you want it given to you?
Well,
when you look back later,
he was the 5th Australian to ever have 3 national championships. Russell Mockridge, come on now. Ray Bilney, John Trevorrow and Robbie McEwen. And Mockridge and Trevorrow also did the hat trick.
Okay.
So Hubert Opperman is the only one who's won more. He's won 4. So he's in a pretty...
It's a steamed company.
It is.
Yeah.
It really
Luminous
is.
names, they are.
So I understand even from a team perspective that's a really great piece of history for the team to own.
Yeah.
But...
Sure, but still.
And so what they did is we saw on the coverage vision, it was on SBS, that they went back to the team car with about 1.5 km to go, had a little celebration with Mathieu Heyman.
Mathieu, yeah.
Who was de-essing it in the car, had a bit of a chat, little fist pumps between them all. And then when they came into the start-finish, they both crossed, Harper sort of pushed Plapp forward.
No.
And then he crossed the line with his arms in the air, and then Harper shortly thereafter.
So the push forward was an obvious, there
was no contest. There was no sprint. There was no, they didn't race in. They rolled in and celebrated.
We speak about when they go to, a place like Japan, do some crits and show off and have a staged mock finish that's okay for the sport because it's look at us, check this out, this is great. Look at these big guns doing this. Don't know if it's okay at the Nats.
Yeah.
Merksy.
Harper did say post-race that Plappy did have to wait for him, a few k's out, just slow up for him. So he must have known he was no chance.
Yeah.
Well, why did Plappy wait? What?
But so I guess that's the thing. And that's what we were seeing on one of the climbs. Plappy was kind of distancing him a bit. But if that's the case, then why didn't Plappy ride away from him?
Race on, sir.
Race on, son.
Hey, look good on Harper for fronting up to that.
Yeah. And look, maybe he didn't because he wanted to be respectful and didn't want to. But I'm curious as to what people think.
I tell you what, we hear a lot, these races, regardless of how they treat them on the day, the build-up, the anticipation, things need to go right. You need to be in the right frame of mind, your body in great shape, your mind feeling good, everything, diet spot on. We hear stories about Remco getting disturbed the night before Wollongong with kids carrying on, things like that. We hear other stories about, I had a terrible night's sleep because dinner didn't go, whatever. Sorry, there's Matthew Vanderpool, not Remco, my mistake. And then you hear about Fergus Browning, who's hit by a car the day before the race.
I mean, firstly, gold star for the name. Love it.
Great
Fergus
name.
Browning. Just
Great
think it's top-notch name.
When is he coming on the show, Merksy?
I
Just
know.
quick segue.
I'll put in a call.
He's slid into the DMs. Yeah,
Yes.
but wow.
He got, collected by a car the day before. They were scrapping around to even find him a bike to race on. The under-23 race was so good.
Yeah.
It always is. It's like each and every one of them knows that Pogacar won a Tour de France when he was their age.
Yeah.
And so they've got something to prove. No, they do. They always race really aggressively. And it's really this dominant force now kind of between ARA, Skip Capital and Team Bridgelane. And there's, a little bit of shimmy back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But just before Christmas, we had Henk Vogels on. And he, gave a little mention to Jackson Medway.
Okay.
Loved him.
Yep.
Very disappointed, though, that he went to Team Bridgelane.
Yep. Okay.
Because he wanted him himself.
And not backward in going forward about those stripes.
No. And so I gave both he and Pat Shaw a little bit of stick about that at Nationals. But riders like that, the teams are really fighting over. They're so talented. And then Fergus Browning, he just was so perfectly watching what the big teams did. And you could see in the way it was playing out that he was like, responsibilities on you. You're in the big team. Not my job.
Right, okay.
Come on through for the victory. I think it's almost like he had nothing to lose. He was like, this has kind of been a buggered up approach to the race.
So just what the hey.
What the hey?
Yeah, okay. Good on him.
The hey.
That's the early wheelhouse medal for valour in the face of adversity, I think.
It is. Well, and Lauren Bates cleaned up in the junior women. And I mention that mostly because we've now adopted her as another Bates.
What's in her
I
name?
don't know if she even knows that yet, but,
Yep.
just putting it out there,
Up
Lauren.
there with Ruby Rose,
Loza.
potentially, as Australia's best road racer since...
And Lauren Brown's parents at the end of the road race celebrating. Honestly, I think her dad could be Usain Bolt. Like how quickly they got there. It was really impressive. Yeah.
Were they gassed? Were they?
Sometimes it's watching the reactions of people around that makes it so interesting on the ground, because that's what you don't see on the TV. You don't see the fans going bananas and you don't see the parents frantically running, or alternatively with 2 laps to go, the parents like shielding their eyes as they come through.
Some parents just not wanting to watch at all because they just can't handle the drama. They're worried they're going to fall off. And
that's right.
One of my favourite reactions ever, it's not in bike racing, but it was State of Origin. It's a crowd shot of a guy getting so excited that he's crying his eyes out. And he spills his beer everywhere, and it's more interesting to watch than the try. He's so excited.
I like that.
I'm seeing a little bit of that in the
everywhere.
parents. Yeah. Wonder where their beers ended up. Probably still in the hill where they left them. Now let's go to Adelaide on the Wheelhouse podcast. Worth checking in, I think, ahead of the Tour Down Under, Catherine. It's a big bill this year. I've been so excited that Lulu himself is coming to town with the full blessing of Patrick Lefevre, of course, which is so important in this sport.
He seemed so thrilled when he announced
didn't he
it,
just?
didn't he just?
Loved it.
Yes, look, he's been spotted out and about.
Loving it.
Mr. Alaphilippe. Yeah, good weather, at least, kind of. Yeah. I think that the men's Tour Down Under this year is quite interesting because you've got a mix of different riders and different characters, and Wollonga Hill is back in. And I reckon Richie Port's Strava record might fall.
Okay.
Might fall.
Done.
But what I also wanted to point out, I brought my computer into studio today to make sure that I was correct on these statistics, right? Is for the most part, the Tour Down Under has been sprinters who've amassed all of the stage victories, right? So Andre Greipel has the most. Guess how many he's got?
14.
18.
18.
18, right? Robbie McEwen on 12. Caleb Ewan on 9.
Okay.
Reckon it might get to 10 this year. But the next is Richie Port. So those first 4, sprint. And then Richie Port, he has 8.
Wow.
Most of them on Wollonga.
On Wollonga,
right?
Yeah.
And so having Wollonga back in is huge because it's been such a huge characteristic of the race. Because if you go further down the list, you've got Alan Davis, you've got Baden Cook, you've got Graham Brown, Eric Zabel, Peter Sagan. Sprinters.
Hear that, Merksy? Hear that last one?
I did hear that one. Where's Impey?
Yeah.
Impey won a few.
No, Impey won the race, but not stage.
Not the stage.
Yeah, I mean, the only... And then Simon Gerrans is in there with 5, but he's got a very good kick on him, right? Yeah. So Richie Port's really an outlier in there, and it's because of Wollonga.
Wow.
And I believe
8 wins.
Yeah, 8 wins.
Okay.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It's good to see records broken, but gee whiz, I'll tell you what.
No Jay Vine.
No Jay Vine. No. Sadly,
he's not going because we're unfortunately not going to be there this year.
That's
the
no Jay,
specific
no
reason.
No, I know, connected. But no, I think actually that Jay's probably now that he's refocusing now that Pogacar's announced Giro and Tour. So I think that he's really kind of stepped up as quite an instrumental member of the support crew. So they didn't come back to Australia at all.
No, which is what we're doing. We are focusing on the Tour de France.
Yeah, we're going for the GTs.
Yeah,
focusing
absolutely.
hard on them. But you know who is back? Jack Haig, and that is pretty exciting. He's almost like Australia's favourite son when it comes to the potential that is there but not quite there.
Yeah.
And so I think it will be very good to see him on Wollonga as well. I just love seeing the Aussie climbers climb.
Yeah.
Like normally we see the Aussie sprinters sprint and it's fantastic, but we don't really get to see the Aussie climbers climb.
Give them a chance to climb.
Give them a chance to
Let
climb.
them climb on home soil. That's all we're asking. Oh, well, wait, you're doing that. Thank you.
But the ladies,
yes,
they go up Wollonga this year.
Cool.
Hello, Sarah Gigante.
Enjoy that, Sarah.
Go on, Giggles.
Yeah. We'll reveal your birthday present if you win.
Yeah.
We'll spoil it.
If you look at the stage results from the women, and they have shorter tours, so it's a little bit more skewed. But on the top of the list, 4 stage wins, Chloe Hosking. sprinter,
Sprinter.
right? And then next is Amanda Spratt. She's a tremendous climber, but more of a almost roller if you're talking about internationally. So, and then Annette Edmondson, 2-stage wins, sprinter.
Some of these names. Yeah.
See, but you put Wollonga in. Get in there, Giggles.
Rewrite history.
Rewrite history. In the history of the race, we've only had one international winner, Ruth Winder, which was delightful, Joel, over the years that people have called her Winder or Winder. And it's been really interesting explaining to the foreign riders why we could get confused with Winder or Winder.
Oh, yeah. English is...
Like the language quirks.
Yeah.
But she retired, but guess what? She's back. She was like, I've done enough in this sport. And then she was like, actually, I don't think I have.
Life outside the
want
sport
more.
sucks. I'm back. It is the era of the comeback. It really is.
It is. So I hope that we have another Aussie winner. But, yeah.
Merksy, what do you think?
Guys, we aren't there this year, but we do have a reporter. And I hope you like it. Can you just talk about Molly?
We do.
Yeah, we do. It's so. Look, we searched far and wide because the Wheelhouse, we have tentacles all over the world. But what we decided we needed was a genuine correspondent who really knows the sport, who's very good on camera and just a good all-round communicator to get out and give us some nuance and insight that you can't necessarily get when you're not there on the ground. And we found Molly, Kate.
We did. Look, Molly is very impressive. She's an 11-year-old from Victoria. Now, I've met her at the Tour Down Under before. She's been like a mini correspondent for Chicks Who Ride Bikes and done an amazing job. And Jordana found that when she was asking some riders some questions, she'd get an entirely different answer than if then 9, 10 or 11-year-old Molly asked the questions. And so at Nationals, I said, Molly, do you want to do some interviews
and
for
secretly audition for the Wheelhouse at the same time.
Well, so she interviewed Laureta Hansen and Tiff Cromwell. It was brilliant.
Awesome.
She went away and wrote her questions. She was great. But the biggest piece of information I got that Laureta Hansen had not told anybody in any other interview, PS, Wheelhouse scoop, is that her uncle was their very big supporter, cheering for her. It was very important for Laureta to have family out on course. Joel, he was dressed in fancy dress. Any idea what would you dress up as in fancy dress if you were going to your niece's national championships race?
My niece specifically.
Inspo. Yeah, what would you dress
watermelon.
up as? A giant watermelon.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're in the right genre.
Yeah.
Food. He dressed up as a deviled egg.
What a legend! And that is a genuine scoop.
It is. But in the interview, I thought I heard devil's leg. And so after the interview, I said, Laureta, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, no, deviled egg. And I was like, I don't know if that's any better, but okay.
What is a deviled egg? I don't understand.
Deviled egg's
Yeah.
like a boiled egg cut in half with some curry and whatnot.
It is. Well, you take the, I know this because I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Again, I had a microphone in my hand for 5 hours, Joel. Like, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do your research.
Scoop the inside. You boil the egg, you cut it in half, you scoop out the yolk.
Yeah.
You mix it with mayonnaise and spice and all that sort of jazz, and you put it back in.
Yeah.
And it's something that your Auntie Sue or your Auntie Kathy would serve.
Oh, 100%.
You
Yeah,
know.
grew up with them on most platters at family
I
gatherings.
mean, I think the general rule should be no deviled eggs before a road trip.
I think
Courtesy?
Even before joining a peloton, unless you're planning on breaking away and staying away, or just
Or might
dropping
help you.
back,
Yes.
don't do it.
Anyway,
But you know what?
Look, we digress. But Molly will be reporting for us. She will be giving us like daily raps.
You
So
know
check
what?
the
And
social media for
at
She's
her
great.
tender age, was she 9, 10?
She's 11.
She's 11, 9, 10, 11?
She's her school captain, I might add.
Oh, Molly. And
She's,
fits well into the Wheelhouse budget
Yeah,
too
we've
at
really
this
gone to
stage.
the top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Molly. Looking forward to hearing
Yeah.
your reports. And if you want to hear what Molly has done so far, you sure can do that, jumping on the social media pages and
Yes,
see some
yep.
of her work. We're not talking her up for no good reason. Put it that
No,
way.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, you could.
It was Bradley Wiggins or Molly, and Wiggins has a bit of a temper, so we went with Molly.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he was
Bradley.
busy.
Uh,
I mean, if you actually jump on the chicks.
sorry,
socials,
Sir Bradley. Isn't
Sir
it? Sorry,
Bradley,
my bad. Yeah.
you can see her interviews, I think, from some past years.
Great.
Like, it's quite cool to see how she's developed as well.
Well,
It's very
welcome
cool.
aboard. The team expands
Yes,
in
the team
2024.
expands.
That's fantastic. Now, fantastic. Looking forward to Adelaide. We'll keep. We'll unpack it all in the next episode. But let's talk. excuse me, about extreme sport.
Yes.
Because I think cycling is an extreme sport. I think looking at Some of those descents in wet weather in the Alps, some of the intensity, some of the crashes, doesn't even matter. It is an extremely extreme sport. Makes sense for a brand associated with extreme sports to come on board. And that's what's happening, Kate. Tell me more about Red Bull coming to cycling.
Well, Red Bull has decided to acquire a 50% stake of Bora Hansgrohe cycling team.
Does that mean they become Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe? Or
no, I believe that it's not, and they're not naming. They're just of the organisation.
Okay.
And so, look, watch this space to see what it really means. But I think the underlying current is that they tend not to invest in something that they can't make fairly profitable. They've done a pretty good job.
They've got a reasonably good instinct.
Yeah, they've given their shareholders wings. I'll say that.
Yeah.
And so for them to invest in cycling means that they see the potential that we all know is there. I mean, for the most part, the sport's done a pretty rubbish job of commercialising it, but they're seeing the potential, and that's really great news.
It's awesome.
It's great news. I mean, we've seen Wout van Aert in years past with the Red Bull helmet on, even within his team. So we know that they're in and around the sport, but it's more been in individual players.
Tom Pidcock.
And so, Tom Pidcock
Tommy
is another one.
is an athlete with wings, hence feathers.
Yeah.
But no, going from just athlete to team is a huge progression
It is.
commercially, so it's huge.
They've got a few females, like Fem Van Empel is one. In mountain bike, they've got a fairly good history. And in fact, if you go back even around the Rio Olympics, Red Bull did all the TV coverage for mountain bike World Cups.
Yep.
And I know that because I had to commentate the mountain bikes at the Rio Olympics.
Yep.
And so I wanted to go back and watch all of the World Cups. And that's where I found it on Red Bull TV.
Did you
on my
find
Apple
yourself
TV.
using words like rad, gnarly, stoked during that commentary?
Look, mountain bike's not too bad. It's the BMX.
BMX gets okay.
BMX.
Get your gnarl on.
I don't pretend to have the correct words all the time for BMX. But, yeah, look, I think that they've seen the potential in mountain bikes and all that sort of stuff. And so now to move that across to road.
Yes.
Yeah, it shows that there's more they can do. It's truly, I think cycling does a pretty rubbish job as a whole of putting the riders' stories out there. Like the Netflix, how good was that? Yeah. But where's the next one? Where's other things jumping off that?
I completely agree.
And the fact that even I spoke about Laureta Hansen's mum before, Heather Kelson, I don't think many people, I think I've seen it in one or two articles, but it's not, even things like that, family connections, stories, really getting to know riders. I just don't think that as a sport we do a very good job of it. And Red Bull creates content. Mercksy, they own like a big content house, don't they?
Yeah, they make their own productions. But it's a bit of a cooler brand than a floor glue company, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, but you kind of forget actually that Red Bull's a drink. I mean,
and actually, it doesn't have shareholders, Catherine. It's private.
They're Genesis. Oh, and they're a private company. Well, there you go. Well, okay. Well, they're giving wings to that family then.
Yeah.
What can I say?
That's even more wings to the family.
But, like they're a drink company, but that's almost secondary to this amazing content and stuff that
they
make. They're a movement.
Max Verstappen racing someone on a bike.
It's about how you feel watching it and what it inspires you to do, not about the drink.
Yep. Okay. Welcome aboard.
Yes.
Red Bull. Still
let's be honest, don't have too much caffeine, folks.
No, I'm not going to drink it, but happy to see them involved.
You might be irritated too.
With the sport, just a couple. A few other items we'd like to tick off, and I should also mention episode 76, series 2, episode 1, episode 76 overall. There you go.
Yep.
Now,
slashy. Yep.
Some new names, some new jerseys in the peloton to look out for this year. Who's got you excited?
I think that jerseys is an interesting one because when I first saw the Liv Jayco Alula jersey, I was like, good heavens. And then I saw the explanation about, ties to land and sea. And I thought, well, that's quite meaningful and that's quite nice. But I'm not sure if I believe it. I mean, it's a great story, but I'm not really necessarily sure.
You're not sold.
Well, not that one matches the other. Beautiful story, but I'm not sure that the design necessarily shows it like perhaps you could. But New Year, how many times have we spoken about the changing team names?
Oh, at least 30 times.
The number of times I had to pause over the weekend when commentating to make sure I was getting the team name right. so it's Jayco Alula or Live Jayco Alula, so that's not too difficult.
It's hard to attach yourself.
But there's still people talking about Green Edge or Orica or all these sorts of things. But there hasn't been any major jersey changes. I really like the new Bora
nice strip.
jersey change.
Nice strip. Yep.
And Merksy, I reckon one of the reasons they really changed has to do with Sagan. I know that he wasn't riding for them when he retired, but I think now that he's really out of road, Bora's like gone for a new identity.
Sagan Peter.
Are they linked?
I don't know. It's all about Roglic.
It's all about, Roggy.
So exciting.
Ask Pete next time you're chatting, Merksy, though, because I'd love to know.
Well, he was mountain biking in the snow yesterday.
Oh,
Yeah.
As you do.
sounds
do.
quite
At
good.
his
but
resort.
He's got long hair. Jeez, he's looking good.
it's
An absolute Adonis.
we did talk about, of course, the fact that AG2R, La Mondiale, Citroën. Oh, how many words
I
are there in
wanted
there?
to ask the question.
That they changed the Nicks.
They haven't retracted that
They
decision?
haven't
Oh, for
retracted it.
God's
No,
sake.
but there was a couple of riders that finished the cyclocross that were completely covered in mud, and it looked like they had brown nicks on. And some people were like, "You've made a mistake. Look how popular the brown
Look
nicks
how cool
are."
they look.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's, and speaking of the teams and the name changes and everything, we've again over the holiday season had an eruption in the discussion around around the whole world tour, and can we change it, and should we make it smaller, and
what can we
or
do?
bigger, and what can we do? And I think that's to add a bit to the rundown on the go, I think that's a really interesting point, because Richard Plug from Jumbo, now Jumbo Lisa Bike,
Mm-hmm.
no more Visma.
Yep.
I had to pause for a second there. I was like,
isn't it Visma Lisa bike?
Visma Lisa
Visma
Bike.
Lisa bike.
Yeah.
Oh, see, here we go.
Goodness.
Now, he's come out and he said, Jake Paul, the martial arts fella.
Boxer.
on
So it was a social
YouTube.
media star turned boxer.
Right.
Yeah.
He said whenever he goes anywhere, he gets absolutely mobbed by fans.
Well,
why aren't the
box.
cyclists
Yeah.
getting mobbed by fans? Do you think it? I just don't know that it's fair to draw that comparison.
No, that's not. Let's. I'm sorry, but like this guy started out as a Nickelodeon kid when he was like 8, was massively famous for that, then became one of the first YouTube sensations. Now is punching on with heavyweight champions and beating them. So yeah, he's got a big global profile in that respect, and he's in that American machine. So I don't know if it's a fair comparison.
No.
I'm not devaluing the achievements of cyclists who are effing amazing right across the world, but the exposure isn't the same.
But Jonas Vingegaard is hardly exciting.
And that's the thing too. Like this guy. A really good point. He's Lair. He's an outspoken. It does it for a good reason. It's all worked out very precisely to get reactions and to upset people, and people love it.
Well, I mean, so I thought if it's all about kind of influences, right? Like that's what Jake Paul is. Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
Oh my God.
Right. See, I mean, it's not my demographic, so I know the story, but wouldn't know what he looked like.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about influences in the cycling sphere, like Jonas Vingegaard isn't really the personality, I would think, to do that.
I can't see, like Jake Paul will come out and say, "Hey guy that I'm going to fight, can't wait to knock your face out." I can't see Jonas coming out and saying, "Hey Remco, can't wait to distance you on the climb." Terrible accent, but you get what I mean. He's never ever going to do that.
Well, so I put into ChatGPT, I asked it, I said, who would be best suited, from the World Tour Cycling, who would be best suited as influencers
right.
in cycling?
Well, unfortunately, we've just
Right.
Sagan Peter, but we've lost him.
Well, he's top of the list,
He's easily
according
top
to
of the
AI.
list, yeah.
Matthew Van Der Poel,
Yes. Yeah.
he's number 2. Number 3 in the cookie jar, Wout van Aert.
Wow. You
Not
didn't need
surprising.
You didn't need
Come on.
ChatGPT. We would have nailed this list.
I know, this
Yeah.
is... Who
This list
says-
writes
who-
itself.
There's no artificial intelligence here. There's just standard.
Yes.
Pogacar.
Yep.
Lizzie Deignan. Good to see Lizzie there.
I'm going to say Alison Jackson.
Alison Jackson.
Ali Jackson,
yep.
good
The
one.
best.
Yep.
Formidable is how they describe the ladies. Annemiek van Vleuten.
Yep.
I mean, she could still really be on
course
the
she could.
influencer front.
Yep.
Alaphilippe.
Juju.
That
Come
little
on.
beard.
We knew that. And the little facial hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting a bit old, I reckon.
Popping the chest
Getting a bit
out.
old. Oh, maybe you can.
Well, that
Get
means you
rid
get a
of
bit of
that.
silver in
Shave
the
it.
beard.
Yes,
Yeah.
shave it.
Silver fox.
You fellas have, come in with a new year, new facial
Much
hair.
to the
Maybe
dismay of
Lulu
my
can do
wife
it
and
too.
my bathroom sink. Yes, I have.
And
Wait,
the
but-
final one on the list was Geraint Thomas.
We're going over, but I'm just going to put it to you. Who is the coolest person in cycling?
Ooh.
Come on.
Oh, the coolest person in cycling. You mentioned Ali Jackson. I think there's a good shout for just, as in presenting with, you are just a really cool person.
You are cool.
And everything you say is cool, and the way you carry yourself is cool.
Yep.
I don't know if I'd say in the whole sport, but that just is a massive standout.
Need more people like
for
her.
me.
Okay.
And that kind of, and when we're talking about the likes of, sorry to do that,
No,
but I'm excited.
You're pointing at me with the sloth on
I'm
your
doing this
hand.
because I'm excited. When we're talking about the Logan Pauls and those personalities that capture imaginations, hers is the type that we need.
We do.
In the sport.
I really like Puck Moonen. She's a Belgian rider, and she's really cool.
Yep.
She's a bit of a badass. She does road, she does mountain bike, she does cyclocross. She's not on the world tour at the moment, but she has been in the past.
Are we expanding cool to outspoken? Because Demi Vollering, if you're going into outspoken, I think has merit as someone who can turn heads.
Funny, her name came up a bit at the Nationals. People just talking about the season that's been and what's coming, and really mixed emotions around Demi Nation.
Polarising.
She does. She gets people speaking.
Absolutely.
So that's.
I wouldn't leave your boy off a list.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Merksy, but you can't have a cool list without Wout van Aert.
No,
he's got great hair.
He does.
I'm going to say
hair.
Tom Pidcock.
He's cool.
He's very cool. But one more.
Tom Bonan, if I can.
Oh, well, his legs are immortalised.
His legs are the coolest legs in cycling. Yeah. Sorry, Merksy.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say Lockie Morton.
Oh, he's
riding
cool.
on the road much,
see, he's
super cool.
What about Logan Martin if we're going to go across disciplines here?
Logan from Logan.
Logan from Logan.
I agree.
Super cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that when we're looking through these names, we just have to think about, where they align with real life. And that's why I give an extra point to Tom Pidcock, because Merksy and I over the holidays have been digesting The Artful Dodger.
Oh, yes,
Disney.
of course. Yeah.
And he looks like The Artful Dodger.
The actor in
He does.
What's his name?
He's the
Freddie,
same kid that's in Love Actually.
Freddie Highmore, isn't it?
You know the little I don't
No,
think so.
wrong kid.
He's
I'm getting
he's
them
the
mixed
kid
up.
out of Love Actually, and he does a very good job.
Yeah, he was in the Sex Pistols series that they did, and he was fantastic as the manager in that too.
It's I haven't seen them in the same room at the same time.
I'll tell you what his name isn't. Freddie Highmore. I'm getting him mixed up with another young star of the era, but this kid is really good.
I don't know. I'm on looks, not names.
And in fact, I also reckon Tade. He's cool.
He is cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you know what I love about him is he will speak out against shit that he doesn't agree. He will just say, no, that's ridiculous. Like with his partner, when people say Pog's girlfriend, he'll be out on social media going, what are you talking about, dickhead?
I'm actually going to use this as a really good segue, because at the Nationals, did you see the video I put up on social media of all the fellas' bikes at the start?
Yes.
And because I was on the start line of the under-23s and I was like, this is some serious tech. Like, in the last decade, we have just upped our game where every rider on the start line just has beautiful equipment. And speaking of Pogacar, it reminds me that they saw a massive shift, because they're now counted as the number one team in the world. And so Colnago, build themselves as the number one bike, because the number one riders ride it.
Yep.
But the bikes that they ride, it's the first time they ride V4Rs that a Colnago has been designed by anyone other than Ernesto Colnago. And that is because it's beautiful old Italian brand, but it was kind of seen as a little bit old school. My dad's still got one sitting in the shed at home, actually. It's beautiful. I dare not touch it. But they thought, people when they went to ride Colnagos said, really? Like Pogacar on a Colnago?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So Pogacar said, no, I want to still keep riding them,
yep,
but you have to work with me. And so they worked super closely with the UAE guys, especially Pogacar, and completely redesigned the frame and the bike. And it's now essentially, the highest performance frame in the world.
Well, good
news. But the
news.
first Colnago not designed by Ernesto Colnago.
Incredible.
It's very cool.
You can get one for yourself. And Pog knows it. He loves it for its blend of aerodynamic stiffness and weight optimization. If you're not looking for that as a biker at any level, I don't know what you're looking for.
But it's, it was interesting because looking at the start line, there's a lot of riders who have team bikes, but then there's a lot who don't have team bikes and they've chosen their own and purchased their own. And that's where you kind of get a bit of a litmus test of what the good ones are.
Reckon there
Well,
was any flat batteries there? Don't think so.
I don't think.
I
there
think
are any
everyone's
flat
gear was
batteries there.
charged.
But I did learn that they're making more. Like one big thing I noticed is the tyres were a lot wider than what we've seen in the past. Bigger bag, we call it, and that the forks were also wider in order to accommodate that.
Okay.
So some of the tyres they were riding were like up to kind of 32, 34
You know, I'm a big advocate
bag
for
tyres,
chunky tyres.
and back in my day, I would ride 22, 23.
Wow.
So that's a big change, and they've had to
It's
change
like you
the
were
frame
ice skating.
design.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have been able to fit these tyres in the old bikes, especially with rim brakes.
Yeah, okay.
So from a tech perspective, it's really cool.
Come a long way, and
Yeah.
good news for you if you do happen to be in the Brisbane region and you're after a Colnago and to do what Pog does, because that's now an opportunity that you can take advantage of, because there's a new Colnago showroom in Darra, which is
There
west of
is.
Brisbane, all new, and a chance to get in and showcase. Now, we have a lovely relationship with Bike Bug and a discount code as well. And all I want to say is that the code Wheelhouse in lowercase, if applied to a Colnago, is a really significant saving. Yes, not to be sniffed at.
Not to be
It's
sniffed at.
just putting it out there.
Yeah, Wheelhouse 10. It'll get you 10% off. But
Wheelhouse
yeah,
10, there you
but
go.
yeah, when you're talking about,
Or you can be cheeky and say
The
it's Wheelhouse
high end.
50.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Is it Wheelhouse 10 or Wheelhouse?
I thought it was just Wheelhouse. But okay.
Wheelhouse for a 10%
Yeah,
discount.
yeah.
Oh,
Don't confuse our thousands of listeners.
Honestly,
Oh, so-
honestly,
You were right, Joel.
you let me go on a holiday and this is what
No,
happens.
that's all right. But just Wheelhouse. So I was we've changed the code. Great.
Well, there's that,
Wheelhouse-
and I called it Yumbo Lisa bike. So I'm on fire today.
Oh, mate, I live on fire, so it's no issue at all. But there you go, Wheelhouse, just Wheelhouse for a
Just
10%er. If you're in and around, or if you love Colnagos that much, get in the car, come up to Brizzy, check out the new showroom,
Yeah.
get yourself a Colnago, or of course anything else on bikebug.com, like your mountain bike shoes, which looked very, very spiffy.
They do look spiffy. They'll look even spiffier when I can fit them
When
on
they
my
fit.
feet.
Yep.
Now, before we go, I've got one for you,
Go.
Joel. I read
Go,
that a
yeah.
heap of the World Tour athletes, like a heap,
Yeah.
when they're feeling a little bit stressed, do you know what they're doing?
What?
Lego. They're building Lego. And do you know what the hot ticket item for the professional cyclists is in the Lego world?
Please tell me it's the Millennium Falcon.
It is.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Yes.
So a couple of them have bought them. Fred Wright. Wright said, Fred, we love him in here. He has
He's
not
too
bought it yet
sexy for
because
us.
it's a reward for him. He's like, I haven't earned it yet, but when I do, that I've got it on my list.
I love that. So
So
he's
I
just
thought
starting
you'd
with
like
like
that.
a little freighter or a little S-wing or something, and he's going to earn the Falcon.
Yeah, yep.
Good
He's
on
set
him.
himself some goals and said, when I achieve X, then the Millennium Falcon Lego. Millennium.
Millennium. He's a
Sorry,
hero
all
of the rebellion.
Star Wars one here.
That's okay. No,
So
we're
there you
working
go.
on that. No worries
So
at all.
you now have less degrees of separation with the World Tour cyclists.
There's always a path that leads to Star Wars. I say that in life,
Yeah.
in everything you do, in life, love, and everything in between. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. Welcome to Season 2. And I'm actually saying it's Season 2.5
It is.
because we started July the year before. But we never actually said that's the end. We just sort of stopped for a bit, then came back. But this year we're
Yep.
coming back and saying we're actually back for a fresh season. So next week we might start doing one of those previously on the Wheelhouse segments. But that's totally up to Merxy because he'd have to do it all. So we might not do that because Merxy has a lot on his plate. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. So thank you to him. And thank you to everyone else who is part of the Wheelhouse family. It's lovely to be back with you.
Virtual fist pump.
Virtual fist bump with the sloth. And hello to everyone who, like me, enjoys a bike ride at any pace, at whatever level of the sport you are at. We have got you covered right here. So like, share, subscribe. Tell everyone you know. Catherine Bates,
Until next time.
adieu.
Da, 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 da.
Ding, ding.